Princess Araya stood at the edge of the glass balcony, her small hands gripping the railing as the sun of Valira sank behind floating towers. The city below shimmered like liquid light, every street and garden reflecting the soft glows of the alien architecture. But even as the beauty spread before her eyes, a deep loneliness pressed on her chest. No one had ever chosen her, not her peers, not her family, not even her advisors. She had been born with a defect in her bioluminescent markings. While others of her royal blood glowed bright and strong, hers were faint, weak, almost invisible in the dark. It made her an outcast in the eyes of her people, a princess who was there in name only. Her telepathic link, which connected the royal family, was weak too. She could hear the thoughts of others, but barely enough to understand what they truly felt. It was as if she existed in a quiet space where no one noticed her, where no one would ever choose her. She'd grown used to it, to being invisible, to fading into the background while her older brother and cousins were praised for their brilliance and strength. Tonight, though, something felt different. The air in the palace hummed with tension. Ships from a distant human fleet had entered the Valira system. They came with messages of peace, a hope for an alliance, and the potential for friendship between two very different civilizations. The Royal Council had barely tolerated their arrival, wary of human intentions. Araya's job was simple: serve as a translator and liaison, a role meant to keep her in sight but out of importance. She wasn't expected to matter. She adjusted the communicator on her wrist and watched as one of the human ships landed in the central courtyard. The airlock hissed open and a group of humans stepped out. They were strange, upright, and without the elegant glow of Valira's people, yet there was a confidence in the way they moved, a steadiness that made her heart beat a little faster. Among them was a man who immediately drew her attention: Captain Eli Ward. He was tall, with sharp eyes that seemed to look not at her markings or her rank, but straight at her. Unlike the Valirans, he did not recoil or stare with judgment. There was no hesitation in the way he walked, no arrogance, no fear. Just a calm focus. When the council assigned her to escort him to the palace chambers, she was nervous. Her heart raced as she led him through corridors lined with polished crystal floors and hovering gardens. She kept her voice steady as she translated the formal greetings between humans and Valirans, careful to hide the quiver in her chest. He watched her quietly, saying little, but she could sense in his presence a warmth that she had never felt before. It wasn't until dinner that she truly noticed it. A feast had been prepared, the table sparkling with Valiran delicacies, shimmering fruits, and crystal-carved dishes. The humans observed in silence, curious but polite. Araya served the dishes carefully, pouring glowing beverages into their cups. When she placed one in front of Captain Ward, he looked up at her and smiled softly. "Thank you," he said, his voice gentle. "You don't need to be nervous. I'm just here to listen and learn." Her breath caught. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not even her family. She tried to smile, but it faltered. I just want to do my duty," she whispered. He nodded, leaning slightly forward. "And you do it well." The words were simple, but they carried a weight that made her chest ache. For a moment she allowed herself to imagine a life where someone truly saw her. Not her defects, not her faint glow, but her. That moment of calm didn't last. During the negotiations the next day, chaos erupted. A group of extremists, Valirans who opposed any human contact, stormed the peace hall. Energy blasts tore through the walls, shattering glass and sending pieces of crystal flying through the air. Shouts and cries filled the chamber. Araya acted without thinking. Her telekinetic abilities, weak as they were, flared instinctively. She raised a shimmering barrier just in time to absorb a blast aimed at Captain Ward. The energy slammed into her, knocking her to the ground. She gasped, pain radiating through her arms and chest. The humans and Valirans froze, staring at her as the blast dissipated. Eli rushed to her side, pulling her into his arms with surprising strength. "Araya, are you okay?" he asked, his eyes wide but steady. He ignored the fire and the chaos around them, focused only on her. I'm fine," she said weakly, though her body trembled. "It's nothing," he shook his head. "Don't lie. Come on, we need to get out of here." He carried her through the burning hallways, past walls blackened with scorch marks and shattered glass, navigating with precision and calm. She clung to him, a strange mixture of fear and comfort swirling inside her. No one had ever stayed for her before. Not like this. When they finally reached the medical bay aboard the human ship, she was laid on a soft bed, wounds tended carefully. Eli sat beside her, holding a piece of the shattered crystal from the hall. "I saved this," he said quietly. "It reminded me of you. Fragile, but somehow still standing." Araya blinked, her cheeks flushing with a warmth she had never known. She didn't know what to say. Words felt useless in the face of his quiet care. Instead, she allowed herself to simply sit there, feeling seen for the first time. Over the next few days, as the humans prepared to leave, she and Eli spent quiet hours together. They walked the ship's observation deck, watched the stars drift past, and spoke in hushed tones about their worlds. He told her of Earth, of humans who fought and loved and survived against impossible odds. She told him of Valeira, of her family and the loneliness she had carried for so long. For the first time, she felt a bond forming, a connection stronger than anything she had known. And yet fear lingered. He would leave eventually, return to his people, and she would be alone again. The thought tightened her chest. Then a discovery changed everything. Hidden in the communications hub, she found a transmission, carefully encrypted. It revealed the truth behind the sabotage. Someone in her own council had planned the attack, hoping to frame the humans and preserve their control over Valeira. Eli saw the documents with her and frowned. "We can't ignore this," he said. "We need to expose it or more lives will be in danger." Araya hesitated. To stand against her own family would be dangerous, maybe fatal. But when she looked at Eli, she felt a courage she had never known. If he believed she could do this, maybe she could. Together they began planning their return to Valeira, knowing the journey would be fraught with risk. As she stood beside him at the shuttle bay preparing to leave, she felt something stirring deep within her. For the first time, she understood what it meant to be chosen, to matter. "No one has ever chosen me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "But you did." Eli looked down at her, his gaze steady and unwavering. "And I'm not leaving you," he said simply. The shuttle doors closed and the stars stretched out before them. Araya felt a thrill of hope, a feeling she had never allowed herself before. Maybe, just maybe, she would not be invisible anymore. She had been chosen, and with that choice came a new beginning, one that would change her life, and perhaps the fate of her entire planet. As Valeira's surface shrank below them, glowing softly under the fading sun, Araya allowed herself to believe that for the first time in her life she was not alone. She had someone who saw her, someone who stayed, someone who made her feel that her existence mattered. And in that quiet, fleeting moment among the stars, she dared to hope. The shuttle hummed quietly as it entered Valeira's orbit, its sleek frame cutting through the thin atmosphere. Araya sat beside Eli, her hands resting on her knees, heart pounding. The city below glimmered with the soft light of floating gardens and crystal towers, but it was different now. She saw the danger lurking in the shadows, the hidden plots that threatened her people. Her mind raced with worry and anticipation. Eli placed a reassuring hand on hers. "Are you ready?" he asked, his voice calm, steady. She nodded, drawing a deep breath. "I have to be. There's no turning back now." The shuttle touched down in a secluded hangar beneath the city. Araya and Eli emerged, careful to avoid the main streets where loyalists to her brother might be watching. The air was heavy with tension, but Araya felt a strange thrill in her chest. For the first time, she was taking action for herself, and someone she trusted was by her side. They moved through the underground passages of the capital, tunnels lit by soft green lights. The walls hummed faintly with energy, a reminder that Valeira's technology was advanced but not invincible. Araya led the way, her steps careful but confident. She had spent her life learning these secret paths, hidden corridors her family thought she would never use. A group of her loyal guards awaited them at a small chamber deep beneath the city. They bowed their heads, recognizing her authority at last. "Princess Araya," one whispered, "we've been waiting for your return. Your brother has tightened his control. Many fear the Council's wrath." Araya's jaw tightened. "We cannot wait any longer. The truth must come out or innocent lives will be lost. Are you with me?" The guards nodded, determination in their eyes. With Eli at her side, Araya felt a surge of courage. Together they began the careful work of uncovering evidence. Using the transmissions she had found aboard the shuttle, they traced the sabotage plan back to her older brother, Prince Kareth. He had conspired with extremist factions to frame the humans and seize full control over Valeira. When they finally confronted him, The prince stood in the throne room, arrogance radiating from his every movement. His hands rested on the arms of the crystal throne, and his faintly glowing eyes regarded them with contempt. "You dare return?" he hissed. "Do you really think you can undo what I have begun?" Araya stepped forward, her small glow pulsing steadily. "I am not afraid of the truth," she said firmly. "The people will know what you have done." Kareth's expression twisted with fury. "You were born weak, Araya. No one ever chose you, and now you think a human stands with you?" Eli moved closer, placing himself between the prince and Araya. "Strength isn't measured by glow or power alone," he said quietly. "It's measured by courage, and right now she has more courage than anyone in this room." Kareth laughed bitterly. "Courage? Against me?" Araya ignored him, focusing on transmitting the evidence through the palace's network. Screens lit up around the room, broadcasting the prince's plot to every corner of Velaira. The council members froze, whispers of shock spreading across their faces. Citizens watching from their homes gasped as the truth became undeniable. Kareth's power began to crumble. His allies faltered, unsure whether to continue their loyalty or face the wrath of the people. The prince's arrogance faltered as Araya's confidence grew. She stood taller than she had ever stood in her life, her light now glowing stronger, not because her body changed, but because her spirit finally embraced its worth. Eli's hand found hers once more, a quiet anchor in the storm. "You did this," he whispered. "You showed them who you really are." Araya's voice trembled but carried a strength that rang through the throne room. "I am not invisible. I am not weak, and I will not be silenced again." With the prince's defeat, order began to return to Velaira. The council was reformed, and those loyal to Kareth were held accountable. Araya's bravery and integrity became a symbol for the people, a reminder that leadership was not about birthright alone, but about courage, justice, and the willingness to stand for what is right. But amidst the victory, a quiet tension lingered in Araya's heart. Eli's mission was ending. Humans could not stay indefinitely, and she feared losing the one person who had truly seen her. As the final celebrations ended, she walked with him to the observation deck, the city glowing beneath them. "Will you leave?" she asked softly. The words almost caught in her throat. Eli looked out at the horizon, then back at her. "I don't have to," he said. His smile was gentle but certain. "If you want me to stay, I will." Her heart surged. She had dreamed of this moment in silence for so long, but now that it was here, she felt the weight of the choice. She could remain a princess of Velaira ruling alone, or she could step into a new life, one where she was chosen truly, for the first time. I want you to stay," she whispered, her voice filled with a mixture of fear and hope. "I want to stay with you." Eli reached for her hand, holding it firmly. "Then we'll stay together," he said. "No matter what comes next, we'll face it as equals." The city lights reflected in her eyes as she looked at him, feeling a warmth that went beyond the glow of her markings. For the first time, she understood that being chosen was not about strength or perfection. It was about being seen, being valued, and being trusted. Eli had chosen her, and she had chosen him. The stars stretched endlessly above them, a reminder of the universe's vastness and its possibilities. Together they stepped into the open sky of Velaira, not as princess and human officer, not as savior and saved, but as two beings who had found each other in a universe that had once told them they could not belong. Days turned into weeks as the humans stayed to assist with rebuilding and reform. Araya's leadership flourished, guided by the lessons she had learned. Courage, empathy, and the understanding that one person's choice could change everything. Eli and Araya spent quiet evenings on the observation deck, speaking of worlds beyond their own, planning futures that neither had dared to imagine before. Through trials and challenges, they discovered that the bonds forged through trust and loyalty were stronger than any glow or telepathic link. Araya's light shone brighter with every act of courage, every decision made for the good of her people, and every moment she spent beside Eli. One evening, as they watched the twin suns set over the floating towers, Araya leaned her head on Eli's shoulder. "I never thought anyone would ever choose me," she murmured. "Not really, but you changed everything." Eli wrapped an arm around her, holding her close. "We chose each other," he said, "and that choice will carry us through anything." The city below pulsed with life, its citizens moving through streets that now felt safer, brighter, and more hopeful. The stars above promised endless possibilities. And between them, Araya and Eli found a quiet joy, a bond that no conspiracy, no danger, and no distance could break. No one had ever chosen her before, but now she had been chosen truly, and for the first time in her life she felt whole. She had someone who stayed, someone who believed in her, and as she looked at the stars and at the human who had changed her world, she knew that together they could face anything. The night deepened, wrapping the city in a soft, protective glow. Araya's markings pulsed gently, a reflection of the courage and love she now carried inside. She had survived loneliness, fear, and betrayal, and now she would thrive with the human who had seen her and stayed, ready to step into the future together. In the quiet of Valira's sky, a new chapter began, one of choice, courage, and a bond that crossed the stars. And as Araya held Eli's hand, she whispered once more, "No one has ever chosen me, but now I want to stay with you, human." Eli squeezed her hand and smiled. "And we will," he said. "Forever." The stars stretched on, endless and bright, and with them, the promise of a life built together, two souls who had found each other in a universe that almost told them they could not belong, but where choice, courage, and heart had made all the difference.